Last night's episode of Good Morning America witnessed unprecedented chaos when both Sylvester Stallone and Helen Mirren were forcibly removed from the studio after George Stephanopoulos accused them of representing everything wrong with Hollywood's refusal to make room for new voices. The legendary actors didn't just defend their careers. They exposed Stephanopoulos' pattern of ageist attacks while revealing disturbing information about ABC's systematic discrimination against older performers. But what started as a joint promotion for their new film about aging athletes would reveal shocking truths about how morning news programs deliberately humiliate veteran artists to appeal to younger demographics. The ABC News studios in Times Square carried extraordinary tension from the moment the two icons arrived. The 77-year-old Stallone and 78-year-old Mirren were there to discuss their unexpected collaboration in a drama about former Olympic athletes facing mortality, a project that had already generated Oscar buzz. But George Stephanopoulos had prepared something entirely different. A makeup artist later revealed overhearing Stephanopoulos tell his producer, "Two fossils pretending they're still relevant. This should be fun to dismantle." The preparation materials included unflattering photos of both actors from recent years, edited to emphasize their age, alongside clips of younger actors who could have played their roles. The production team had been instructed to dim the lighting slightly to make them appear older on camera. Therefore, when the broadcast went live at 7:23 that morning, Stallone and Mirren walked into what was essentially a coordinated attack on their right to continue working. The show began with its standard cheerful opening, Robin Roberts discussing weekend events while Michael Strahan covered sports. Stephanopoulos sat at his desk reviewing extensive notes with unusual intensity, occasionally smirking at something written there. Stallone and Mirren waited in the green room together, an unlikely pair who developed genuine friendship during filming. Mirren was applying lipstick while Stallone sat perfectly still, his weathered face focused on the monitor. Their publicist would later describe them as two old warriors who knew exactly what was coming and had decided to face it together. When Stephanopoulos finally announced, "Please welcome Sylvester Stallone and Dame Helen Mirren," they walked out arm in arm, a united front that immediately changed the studio's energy. The audience gave them a standing ovation, which clearly annoyed Stephanopoulos. "Sylvester, Helen, you're both approaching 80. Don't you think it's time to step aside and let younger actors have opportunities?" Stephanopoulos began immediately, not even mentioning their film. Mirren responded first, her voice carrying decades of authority. "I'm sorry, George. Are you suggesting we should stop working because of our age? That's illegal discrimination you're advocating on national television," she said calmly. "I'm talking about gracefully making room," Stephanopoulos said, already defensive. Stallone leaned forward. "Like you made room? You've been doing this same show for how many years? Maybe you should step aside for a younger host," he said quietly. Therefore, the double team had begun immediately. Stephanopoulos found himself facing two legends working in perfect synchronization. Robin Roberts looked uncomfortable. Michael Strahan seemed ready to intervene. But Stephanopoulos doubled down on his attack. "The difference is, I'm not pretending to be an action star at 77, he said to Stallone. "No, you're pretending to be a journalist at 63. Which is more embarrassing?" Stallone replied. Mirren added with surgical precision, "At least when we pretend, everyone knows it's acting. When you pretend to be objective while pushing agendas, that's deception." The philosophical attack from both sides was devastating. Stephanopoulos tried to separate them. "Let's focus on why Hollywood should embrace new voices," he said. "Hollywood does embrace new voices. It also respects experienced ones. Unlike morning television, which apparently discriminates based on age," Mirren observed. She pulled out a document. "This is ABC's internal memo about refreshing guest lists by reducing appearances by anyone over 65. Your own network's ageism policy." "Should I read it?" she asked. "That's confidential," Stephanopoulos protested, his face going pale. "Not anymore. Whistleblowers exist, George. People disgusted by discrimination tend to speak up," Stallone added. He stood up, his physical presence still imposing despite his age. "You know what we represent? Survival. Longevity. Proof that talent doesn't expire at 40. That threatens you," he said. "That's absurd," Stephanopoulos claimed. "Is it? Then why did you research our ages more than our film? Why prepare photos highlighting our wrinkles? "We've seen your prep materials, George," Mirren revealed. The audience gasped. Several people began recording despite studio policy. The exposure of the show's preparation was damaging. But the two actors were just beginning their synchronized destruction. "You want to discuss relevance? Let's discuss yours. What have you contributed to culture besides recycling the same political takes every morning?" Stallone asked. "I inform the public," Stephanopoulos said desperately. "You read teleprompters written by 25-year-olds. We create art that lasts generations. Which contribution matters more?" Mirren replied. She stood as well, her regal bearing commanding attention. "This man advocates age discrimination while working in an industry that's supposed to champion equality. The hypocrisy is staggering," she told the audience. "We're discussing industry evolution," Stephanopoulos protested. "No, you're advocating elderly disposal. There's a difference between evolution and euthanasia of careers," Stallone said. But then they revealed something that changed everything. Mirren pulled out another document. "This is a lawsuit being filed today. Age discrimination against ABC for systematic exclusion of older guests and participants. We're both plaintiffs," she announced. "You can't announce that here," Stephanopoulos said, panicking. "We just did. And discovery will be fascinating. All those emails about demographic appeal and youth initiatives that meant excluding anyone with gray hair," Stallone added. The legal threat was real and immediate. Stephanopoulos looked at his producers off camera, but they seemed frozen. The situation was spiraling beyond any contingency plan. "Security," Stephanopoulos called out suddenly. "We need security." "You're calling security on two elderly actors?" Mirren asked incredulously. "You're ambushing this show," Stephanopoulos accused. "No, we're defending ourselves against your ambush. There's a difference between aggression and self-defense," Stallone replied. For security guards appeared, looking extremely uncomfortable. The optics of removing two beloved elderly actors were terrible, but Stephanopoulos was beyond reason. "Remove them both. They're disrupting the broadcast," he ordered. As security approached, Stallone and Mirren linked arms again. "Look at this, America. They're physically removing senior citizens for opposing discrimination. This is your morning news," Stallone said to the camera. "We're being ejected for being old and refusing to apologize for it. Remember this moment," Mirren added. The guards reached them hesitantly. One whispered, "I'm so sorry about this." Stallone responded loudly enough for the microphones. "Son, you're about to remove Rocky Balboa and the Queen of England for defending their right to work. Think about that. Do your job," Stephanopoulos demanded. As the guards gently took their arms, Mirren delivered a devastating observation. "George, you're so afraid of aging that you're attacking those who've aged successfully. That's not journalism. It's projection of your own terror. You're both finished in television," Stephanopoulos threatened. Stallone laughed. "Television? We make films that last forever. You make content that expires by lunch. Your threats are meaningless." As they were escorted toward the exit, both turned back simultaneously. Mirren spoke first. "The lawsuit will proceed. Your discrimination is now evidence." Stallone added, "And George, when you're our age, if you make it, remember this moment. Remember when you became the thing you once fought against." But before leaving, they delivered one final coordinated blow. "Ask him about the young female anchors forced out at 40, Mirren shouted. "Ask about the age when male anchors get replaced versus female ones," Stallone added. The cameras caught everything before cutting to commercial. Robin Roberts had actually stood up as if to follow them. Michael Strahan looked disgusted. The studio was in chaos. "We're experiencing technical difficulties," Robin said when they returned, but her voice carried obvious disapproval of what had occurred. Within seconds, #ElderlyActorsAssaulted was trending globally. The footage of two beloved stars in their 70s being removed by security went viral instantly. AARP, SAG-AFTRA, and elderly rights organizations exploded in outrage. The lawsuit announcement had been strategically brilliant. Other older actors began joining as plaintiffs within hours. The class action potential was massive. ABC faced a legal nightmare. Stephanopoulos attempted damage control. "We had guests who became hostile and disruptive," he said weakly. But the footage showed two calm elderly actors being removed by multiple security guards. The optics were devastating. Public opinion was entirely against him. Stallone and Mirren released a joint video statement from outside ABC studios. We were physically removed for opposing age discrimination. George Stephanopoulos called security on two actors in their 70s for defending their right to work. This is the face of ageism in America. The video went viral globally. Other older actors shared their own experiences of discrimination. The dam broke on a conversation about ageism in media that had been suppressed for years. ABC's stock price dropped immediately. Advertisers targeting older demographics pulled out en masse. The network faced boycotts from senior organizations nationwide. The lawsuit proceeded with devastating discovery. Emails showed systematic discrimination against older guests, participants, and employees. The legal liability was potentially hundreds of millions. Meanwhile, Stallone and Mirren's film became a cultural phenomenon. Audiences rallied to support them, seeing the film as a statement against ageism. It became the highest-grossing drama of the year. The incident became known as the Elder Rebellion, when two aging legends stood together against discrimination. It sparked nationwide legislation against age discrimination in entertainment. Robin Roberts resigned within a month, stating she couldn't work for an organization that physically removed elderly guests. Michael Strahan followed, saying the incident violated basic human dignity. Stephanopoulos tried to continue but faced empty studios. Guests refused to appear. His co-hosts abandoned him. The show collapsed within 3 months. The security guards who'd removed them became symbols of shameful compliance. One gave an interview saying, "I removed Rocky and Helen Mirren because they were old and speaking truth. I'll carry that shame forever." But the deeper impact was on American culture's treatment of aging. The image of two beloved elderly actors being forcibly removed for opposing discrimination became a civil rights moment. Universities began teaching the incident as a turning point in elder rights. The conjunction of two icons standing together made it impossible to dismiss as isolated complaint. Stallone and Mirren continued working together, becoming advocates for age equality in entertainment. Their partnership, born from shared discrimination, became a powerful force for change. Years later, at the Oscars, they presented together. Mirren said, "George Stephanopoulos once had us removed for being old." Stallone added, "We're still here. Where's his show?" The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. The empty chairs they left at Good Morning America became permanent symbols. ABC never recovered its reputation. The network became synonymous with age discrimination. Other morning shows scrambled to include older guests, terrified of similar lawsuits. The industry transformed overnight, forced to confront its systemic ageism. Stephanopoulos attempted various comebacks, but the image of him calling security on elderly actors was insurmountable. He became unemployable, ironically aged out of his own industry. The lawsuit settlement was sealed, but reports suggested ABC paid over $300 million. The money went to establish foundations supporting older artists and fighting age discrimination. The incident forced legislation protecting older workers in all industries. Stallone-Mirren laws became standard nationwide, preventing age-based employment discrimination. Film schools taught the confrontation as the last stand, when Hollywood's elder statespeople finally said enough. It became required viewing in media ethics courses. The security footage of them being removed, arms linked in solidarity, became an iconic image of resistance. It appeared on protest signs, in documentaries, in history books about civil rights. Neither Stallone nor Mirren ever appeared on morning television again. They didn't need to. Their point had been made more powerfully than any interview could achieve. The partnership they formed that day continued throughout their lives. They made 3 more films together, each addressing aspects of aging with dignity and power. When Stephanopoulos published a memoir years later, attempting to rehabilitate his image, it failed spectacularly. The chapter about the incident was widely mocked for its self-serving revisionism. Mirren reviewed it with one line, "Fiction from someone who attacked us for creating fiction." The irony is delicious. Stallone simply posted a photo of empty chairs. The cultural shift was permanent. Ageism in entertainment, once casual and accepted, became recognizable discrimination. Older actors worked more, not less, after the incident. Studios created initiatives specifically for older artists. Networks established quotas for age representation. The industry transformed because 2 people refused to be dismissed. And George Stephanopoulos, who tried to humiliate two legends for their age, became the one humiliated by history. His name became synonymous with discrimination, his career a cautionary tale. In the end, being kicked off Good Morning America became their greatest victory. Not through planning, but through dignity. Not through youth, but through experience. Not through acceptance, but through resistance. They'd shown that age discrimination wasn't just wrong but foolish. That dismissing older artists meant dismissing excellence. That security guards couldn't remove truth, only speakers of it. The image of them, arms linked, being escorted out by security, became more powerful than any film they'd made. It was real, it was wrong, and it was witnessed by millions. And America, watching two of its most beloved actors being removed for the crime of aging while excellent, finally understood that discrimination doesn't become acceptable just because its victims have gray hair. The revolution they started that morning continued long after they were gone, their stand becoming legend, their removal becoming the removal of acceptability for age discrimination itself. Two actors in their 70s had done what decades of advocacy couldn't. They'd made ageism visible, undeniable, and unacceptable, simply by refusing to apologize for still being here, still working, still magnificent despite someone thinking they were too old to matter.